I used to think being abandoned only happened in movies, until the day my own family left me at a gas station. No phone, no money, no goodbye. And 15 years later, they came back, not with apologies, but with outstretched hands, asking for help. This is the story of how I survived, rebuilt, and found the family I chose, not the one I was born into. I used to think family pranks meant hiding the TV, remote, or switching the Wi-Fi password. But that summer, when I was 21, I found out some jokes cut so deep, they carve out your sense of belonging and bury it where love was supposed to live. That wasn't a joke. That was them telling me I was never really one of them, just a shadow in the house. My name's Harper. I grew up in a cramped little house in a town nobody outside Idaho remembers. My dad called it the family nest. Funny, because it felt more like a cage. I didn't go to college, not because I didn't want to, but because, according to my dad Carl, college is for dreamers, people who think feelings pay rent. He ran a hardware store. I worked there full time, opened up in the morning, closed down at night, took stock, cleaned toilets, no salary, just a couple $100 shoved in my hand each month, like I was some middle schooler running lemonade stands. Meanwhile, my brother Kevin, 2 years older, taller, smoother, barely showed up. But when he did, he got applause just for existing. Look at Kevin, Dad would say, slapping his back like he won the Olympics for being male and breathing. Meanwhile, I was the difficult one. Too quiet, too opinionated, too much. And Mom, she'd just say, "Don't talk back. You know how your dad gets." She was gentle, but not protective. Not once did she stop him from calling me lazy, dramatic, worthless. And not once did she call me his daughter the way she used to when I was little. I remember one night, clear as glass, when I walked home 5 miles in the dark because Kevin borrowed my bike and left it God knows where. I walked in dripping with sweat, feet blistered raw. And my dad, sitting on the couch, didn't even look up. "Thought you were dead in a ditch somewhere." "Useless bitch," Kevin laughed, snapped his fingers at me like I was a dog. "Want me to show you where the shelter is? Might suit you better." I didn't even flinch anymore. That was my normal. And somehow, it still hurt. But that summer, I wasn't expecting anything. No miracles. Just another season of surviving. Until my dad said one sentence that changed everything. "Next week, we're going to Colorado. Uncle Jerry's wedding." No objections. Just like that. "No, can you take time off work? No, do you want to come?" Just an order, like always. Kevin, of course, drove. He played his music loud, talked louder, and I got shoved in the far back seat with a foam cooler leaking sandwich juice on my jeans. They told stories the whole way, all of them about me. Harper the klutz, Harper the dropout, Harper who once spilled paint on Dad's truck when she was 6. Like I wasn't even in the car. 3 days. That's how long I listened to them laugh about me while my mom turned around occasionally to give a guilty glance. A little sad smile. Like that made up for anything. Then came day 4. We stopped at a tiny roadside rest stop near Glenwood Springs. 1 bathroom, 2 vending machines, mountains all around us. "I gotta pee," I said. Dad didn't even turn his head. "Make it quick. You're not royalty." I got out. Just a faded t-shirt, ripped jeans. My phone was charging in the car. Kevin's idea, and my wallet was somewhere in the luggage. I was gone maybe 8 minutes, but when I stepped back out, the car was gone. The silver SUV I'd grown up riding in, just gone. Vanished. Like it had never been there at all. At first, I thought maybe they were playing some dumb prank, hiding behind a tree. Maybe they drove a few feet forward as a joke. But 10 minutes passed, then 20. I walked around the whole rest stop, called out, laughed nervously, peeked behind bushes. "Dad? Kevin? Mom?" Silence. The only sound was the wind rattling the vending machine and some distant highway traffic. I sat on the hot pavement, knees pulled to my chest. It hit slowly. They weren't coming back. Not because they lost me. Because they left me. On purpose. And the worst part? I didn't even cry. I just sat there, like a discarded item on the side of the road. Eventually, a truck driver pulled up and asked, "You okay, miss?" I lied without blinking. "Yeah, just waiting for friends." He nodded. Drove off. I'd learned how to look okay a long time ago. It was the only thing my family ever taught me well. But after an hour, after every excuse in my head dissolved into the silence, I made a decision. Not just to survive, but to leave. Not just this place. Not just that day. But the whole broken idea of family I'd been sold my entire life. I stood up, legs trembling. I didn't know where I'd go. I had no ID, no phone, not a single dollar. But for the first time, I knew I wasn't going back. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even have shoes good enough to walk more than a few miles. But I knew this. I wasn't going to sit there and wait for people who left me behind like a mistake. I dusted off my jeans. My palms were sweating, but my face, dry. I had no more tears left. I looked around. Nothing but desert hills, cracked pavement, and strangers who didn't want to make eye contact. Then a woman pulled up in a minivan, blonde curls, big sunglasses, a little boy in the back, holding a juice box. I stepped toward her like I was walking on a tightrope. Excuse me, I croaked. Could I borrow your phone? Just 1 minute, please. I got left behind. She froze. Looked at me, messy ponytail, sweat-stained shirt, no bag, no smile. I must have looked like a runaway or worse. But her son tugged on her hand. Mom. She looked sad. It was that sentence, that tiny voice. It shifted something in her. She handed me the phone. I stared at the screen. I had every intention of calling my dad, of begging, of saying it's not funny anymore. But then, I remembered. My college application in the trash. Kevin laughing while I cried. Mom whispering, "Don't make it worse." I handed the phone back without dialing. Actually, do you know if there's a shelter nearby? Her eyes widened. She didn't expect that. I think there's one in Glenwood Springs. About 40 minutes from here. I nodded, heart pounding. Then I asked the most vulnerable question I've ever spoken. Could you take me? I know it's a lot to ask, but I don't have anyone else. She hesitated, looked at her son, back at me, then nodded. Just to the door. That was enough. The ride was quiet. I stared out the window, trying to disappear into the mountains. When we pulled up, there it was. A weather-worn white sign, Safe Haven Shelter. I turned to her. Thank you. Really. She just gave a small nod and drove off. I stood in front of that door, heart racing like it was about to give out. Then it opened. A man in his 50s stood there. Salt and pepper hair, wrinkled shirt, kind eyes. You need help? I didn't cry, didn't tremble. Just nodded. I was left behind. I don't have anything. He didn't ask more. Just stepped aside. Name's Max. Come in. We'll take it one step at a time. Inside smelled like bleach and hope. I got assigned a bunk bed. Shared a room with 3 other women, all carrying their own ghosts. But no one asked questions. And no one judged. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of a spoon hitting a bowl. Oatmeal. Bruised apple. I ate every bite. Because hunger wasn't just in my stomach. It was in my spirit. And I was starving for a fresh start. Max let me use an old computer in the office. I searched. Cash jobs. No ID, Grand Junction. Most of it was sketchy. Then I saw it. Dishwasher needed. Sonny's Diner. Cash pay. Start immediately. No address on the listing, just a few blocks away. I asked for a spare hat, borrowed it, and walked through town like a ghost in someone else's skin. Sonny's wasn't much. Yellow paint fading. Windows foggy. The sign hung crooked, like it was too tired to stand tall. I stepped in. A bell jingled overhead like it was announcing something big. Behind the counter stood a woman in her 60s. Short, grayish purple hair, apron stained with coffee and something unidentifiable. A rose tattoo peeked from her sleeve. She looked up. One glance. I cleared my throat. I saw the ad. For a dishwasher. I don't have any papers right now. I lost everything. But I can work. I will work. She didn't blink. I'm Geraldine. The last guy walked out mid-shift. She tossed a pair of gloves on the counter. You steal. I roast you. 3rd drawer. Start now. I didn't say thank you. Not because I wasn't grateful, but because if I spoke, I would have cried. I washed dishes until my hands turned red and raw. Soap stung every little cut. At the end of the day, Geraldine handed me a $20 bill and a leftover turkey sandwich. I held it like it was a trophy. That night, I slept hard. The mattress was thin, but I didn't care. Because for once, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't a joke. I was someone earning their place. One week in, Geraldine tossed a folder onto the counter. Forms to get your ID replaced. Use the diner's address. You're not a ghost, Harper. Stop living like one. I took the folder like it was sacred. Thank you, I whispered. She waved me off. Don't thank me. Do good. You screw up, you're gone. But in her eyes, I saw something I'd never seen in my mother's. Belief that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't hopeless. 3 days later, I bought a cheap prepaid phone. Not to call anyone, just to feel real. I didn't expect it to ring, but it did. And when I picked up, it was my mother. Her voice, soft, cracked. Harper, is that you? Thank God. We were so worried. It was just a joke. Your dad turned back but didn't see you. In the background, I heard Carl snap. She's being dramatic. Tell her to take a bus. Then Kevin, laughing. Come on, Harper. You made your point. Get over it. I held the phone away from my ear, stared at it, then said, calm as a whisper, if the goal was to see if I could survive alone, congrats. I'm doing it. And I'm never coming back. I hung up, blocked the number, then deleted every contact I had memorized my entire life. Dad, Mom, Kevin. Each deletion felt like cutting a rope tied around my chest. That night, I slept in the storage room behind Sonny's kitchen. The floor was sticky. My shirt smelled like fried grease. But for the first time, I felt free. A name, a job, a life, brick by brick. The storage room behind Sonny's smelled like flour, fried oil, and old onions. But to me, it smelled like freedom. I had a place to sleep, a job, and no one yelling my name like it was a curse. Geraldine was rough, but she was real. No sugarcoating, no pity. And when you've lived your whole life on eggshells, that kind of honesty feels like sunlight. I showed up early, stayed late, mopped floors, washed dishes, wiped tables, even cleaned out the grease trap without complaining. And every shift, Geraldine would drop a crumpled 20 into my hand, sometimes toss in a leftover burger or slice of pie. Don't starve. You can't work if you're dead. Her way of saying, you matter. By the end of the second week, she let me chop onions. Gloves are optional, but if you lose a finger, you're still on the schedule. She taught me how to hold a knife, how to flip eggs without breaking the yolks, how to move around the kitchen like I belonged there. And for the first time in years, I believed I did. That little voice in my head, the one that used to echo my father's insults, was starting to get quieter. One night, after a long shift, Geraldine sat me down in the back booth. She slid a stack of forms across the table. Here, replacement ID, birth certificate, social number. Already called Idaho for your records. Just sign and get it done. My hands trembled a little. I'd spent weeks pretending I didn't care about the past, but the truth was, I didn't want to be a ghost anymore. Thanks, I whispered. She didn't blink. Don't thank me, Harper. Do something with it. That night, I filled out every form, took my time, wrote my name slow and careful. Harper Lynn, not just a name this time. A statement. 3 days later, I bought a used laptop with my tips. Started taking free online classes. Nothing fancy, just basics, business management, accounting, supply chain. I didn't dream of becoming someone big. I just wanted to stop surviving and start living. During the day, I worked. At night, I studied. Eyes burning, brain fried. But it felt like progress. And then she walked in. Kendra, tight ponytail, headphones in, medical textbook under one arm, ordered a black coffee and a Denver omelet, no tomatoes. Didn't even look up when I served her. Thanks, she mumbled, flipping the page. She came back 2 days later. Same order, same seat, same quiet. So I started messing with my name tag. One day I was Amber. Another day Cindy. Once I wrote Banana. It took her 3 visits to notice. She looked up, brow raised. Do you have an identity crisis, or is this performance art? I smirked. First real smile I'd cracked in months. Just making sure you're awake. After that, we talked. Slowly. like strangers testing the water. We didn't date, not really. We shared coffee, swapped favorite songs, watched old movies on her phone during my break. She didn't ask about my past. She just sat in it with me. That was enough. 6 months later, Kendra moved into my tiny one-bedroom above the laundromat. We had a microwave, one squeaky fan, and a crooked window that leaked when it rained. But we had each other. We took turns cooking, argued over socks, watched lightning storms from the fire escape while sharing leftover pie. Geraldine noticed before we said anything. One night after close, she nudged me with her elbow. Kendra's a good one. Just don't show her your gremlin face when you don't sleep. I rolled my eyes, but I knew what she meant. She wasn't just approving our relationship. She was rooting for me. Almost 3 years after that day on the side of the road, Geraldine called me into the back office. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, face unreadable. I'm opening another Sonny's, east side of town. Smaller place. I don't need a co-owner. I need someone to run it. I blinked. You mean me? She scoffed. No, I was talking to the raccoon in the alley. She tossed me the keys. You've been running this one for a year already. This is the test. Pass it, and it's yours. I nodded before my fear could speak. Sonny's East opened 6 months later. No balloons, no ad campaign. Just an open sign and me standing behind the counter with a borrowed espresso machine and a menu I wrote on my laptop. First few weeks were brutal. I worked 90 hours a week, lost 10 pounds, nearly burned out. But customers kept coming back because the food was good, because the service was honest, because every piece of that diner, from the napkin holders to the playlist, had my fingerprints on it. I wasn't just working anymore, I was building. One Saturday night, after locking up Sonny's East, I walked home through a quiet street, stars barely visible through the city haze. Kendra was waiting on the couch, messy bun, wearing my hoodie. She pulled me in without a word, and in that moment, in her arms, I thought back to that girl on the curb, scared, abandoned, invisible, and I whispered to the version of myself that thought no one would ever love her. We made it, brick by brick, scar by scar. We made it. It was a Thursday, mid-shift, oil popping on the grill. Maya, our newest hire, poked her head into the kitchen looking nervous. Harper? Someone's here asking for you. They said there. Family. That word hit me like cold water. Family. A word I hadn't said out loud in over 10 years. I wiped my hands on a towel, walked out front, and the world slowed down. There they were. Carl, my father, older, thinner, hair grayer, but the same look in his eyes, like everyone owed him something. Susan, my mother, standing a little behind him, clutching her purse like it might fly away. Kevin, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes bouncing everywhere but mine, and beside him, a stranger, young woman, too polished, too quiet, probably his second wife. I didn't say anything, didn't smile, didn't cry. Carl cleared his throat. Harper, is that you? I nodded. Yeah, that's me. As for who you are, I'm not so sure anymore. Silence. Susan's hand shot to her mouth, her eyes wet. Kevin looked at the floor. Carl finally said, We need to talk. We're family. I turned to Maya. Bring them water. Corner table. We sat. No one touched their glass. Kevin tried to smile. This place looks nice. You run it? I didn't answer. I looked straight at Carl. Why now? Susan opened her purse, pulled out a folder. Hospital paperwork, financials, foreclosure notice. Carl had heart failure. No insurance. Kevin? Unemployed. 3 failed ventures. Susan needed surgery. They were drowning. And I was the lifeboat. I placed the folder on the table, still unopened. 15 years. No calls, no letters. And now you show up. For money. Kevin leaned forward. We didn't know how to reach you. I looked him dead in the eyes. Like the time you left me on the side of a highway with no wallet, no phone, and called it a joke? Carl slammed his hand on the table. We came back. You weren't there. My voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. I sat there for 3 hours, Carl. And no one came back. Because I didn't matter. Susan began crying. Real tears. I think, this time, I've regretted it every year, every single day. I thought you'd call. You didn't. Neither did you. Because I learned not to. Kevin leaned in again, voice softer now. Look, I know it's a lot, but this isn't about the past. This is about Dad, Mom. If you can help, help. I stood up. Dinner. My house. 6 o'clock. Carl blinked. Kevin smiled like he'd won. Thanks, Harper. I knew you'd come around. But he didn't know. None of them knew. That night, I set the table with Kendra. Ellie and Marcus sat nearby, drawing. When the doorbell rang, Ellie looked up. Who's that? I kissed her forehead. No one important. Just people I used to know. They came in like ghosts. Carl, hunched, but still proud. Susan, shaking. Kevin with his plastic charm. They looked at the photos on the wall. My wedding. The kids. Sonny's East-framed menu. Carl tried to talk to Marcus. The boy shrank behind my leg. Ellie hid behind Kendra. We all sat. No one ate. Kevin talked the most, about healing and starting over. Susan dabbed her tears. Carl stayed mostly quiet, like he was still waiting for someone to give him the floor. When the kids went upstairs, I stood, went into the office, and came back with an envelope. Set it in front of Carl. He opened it. Inside, a check $73.50. He frowned. What the hell is this? I looked him dead in the eye. A Greyhound bus ticket, from Glenwood Springs to Idaho, in 2009, the exact amount I would have needed if I'd wanted to come home. The room went still. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, but I didn't use it. And now, I'm giving it back to you. Carl stood up fast, face red. You ungrateful brat! We're your parents! I didn't flinch. No. You're the people who left me. Family doesn't abandon you, and they don't show up after 15 years just to ask for money. Kevin stood too. Pulled his wife along. His charm cracked. Susan sobbed. Carl crushed the check in his fist and threw it at my feet. You'll regret this. You think you're better than us? I opened the door. Good luck. They left. No hugs, no apologies, no parting words, just silence. The kind that used to haunt me. But not this time. Later, I stood in the hallway, the door still warm from where I'd closed it. Kendra walked up beside me, hand resting gently on my back. You okay? I nodded, but inside, it felt like a hole had finally closed. We washed dishes in silence. The kids' laughter returned like nothing had happened. That night, I looked out the window one last time. Their car was gone, and so was their power over me. I didn't get revenge. I got free the night they left. I didn't cry. I just stood there in the hallway, quiet, still, with the faint smell of lemon soap clinging to the air after dinner. Outside, their car had vanished into the dark. But this time, I was the one who shut the door first. Kendra came to stand beside me. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. That was the thing about her. She didn't fill silence with noise. She stood in it with me. Later, we tucked the kids in. Ellie rolled over in her sleep and whispered, Daddy, and Marcus's little hand reached for mine even in his dreams. I looked at them, these tiny people I was raising, and something in me settled. They would never have to question if they were wanted. They'd never be left behind at a rest stop. They would never earn love like it was currency. They'd be loved just for breathing. The next morning, I logged into an old email I hadn't touched in over a decade. Inbox full of ghosts. Subject lines like, We need to talk. Your father's not well. Family is still family. I deleted them all. No opening, no replying. Then I logged into an even older account, an Old Town Facebook group. And there it was, Carl's last post. Looking for daughter Harper Lynn. Been out of touch a long time. If anyone knows where she is, please help. I stared at it for a long time, then clicked deactivate, permanently. That afternoon at Sunny's East, Geraldine was already sitting at her usual booth. Black coffee, sharp eyes. She motioned me over. Maya told me there was a storm in the diner last night. I gave her a tired smile. Old tornado already passed. She nodded slowly. Good. You know trash stinks if you let it sit too long. Sometimes you gotta take it out before it rots your heart. Then she slid a piece of paper across the table. A plan. Sunny's third location. But this time, I wasn't just running it. I was investing in it. Co-owner. I stared at the paper. Then signed without a second thought. Not out of pride, but because it was mine, not given, not inherited, not tied to guilt or obligation. Mine. That evening, I came home. Ellie was coloring at the table. Marcus was building a tower out of cereal boxes. Kendra sat on the couch, tea in hand, soft smile waiting just for me. I sat beside her, exhaled, let the weight fall off my shoulders. I buried the past, I whispered. And the future? She asked, tilting her head. I looked around, at the mismatched furniture, the drawing taped to the fridge, the soft hum of something real. I'm building it. With you. With them. With these hands. And I'm not letting anyone tear it down. That night, as I lay in bed, the ceiling fan creaking softly above me, I thought back to the day they left me. That rest stop, the hot pavement, the empty parking lot. No wallet, no phone, no home. I thought I would die there, not physically, but inside. But I didn't. I stood up. I walked away from the people who couldn't love me, and I found the ones who could. Now, love looks like Ellie giggling when I use my monster voice. It's Kendra falling asleep on the couch after a long shift, her hand still reaching for mine. It's Marcus calling me dad like it's the most natural thing in the world. It's Geraldine swearing in the kitchen while trying to teach Maya how not to ruin the hash browns. It's the customers who walk into Sunny's East and feel like they've come home. It's Sunday mornings on our tiny balcony, growing tomatoes in recycled coffee cans. It's laughter without cruelty, disagreement without fear, silence that doesn't sting. They say blood is thicker than water, but they forget the full saying. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The people we choose, the ones who walk beside us, love us, grow with us, they are our family, not the ones who break us and call it discipline, not the ones who leave us and call it a joke, not the ones who come back only when they need, but the ones who stay and build and choose us every single day. I didn't get revenge. I got free. And that's the real story.